God damn it. All right.
Blue 17! Red 7!
Oh, you're gonna cover me.
Like white on rice.
I'm
Alright,
gonna, I'm gonna fucking cover you.
Hot route, red 7. I don't even know what that means.
Ball sack on 3.
Just get to the other side.
Tupac.
Just get to the other side so we can do the rest of these fucking matchups.
Okay, here we go.
All right, yo. Welcome back to the Average Bros Fantasy Football Podcast. It's your boy T.
Sadu.
Sided.
Saw, dude.
So last episode we broke down the first half of the matchups for Week 4. So in this episode, we're just gonna jump right into it. We're gonna break down the second half of these matchups.
Real quick though, before we get into it, do you notice anything different about me today, guys?
Still look like an idiot.
No,
All
dude,
right.
I'm fucking wicked smart. That's all I just gotta say. Anyways,
You look like a scientist.
all right. First matchup we're gonna get into today is gonna be the Seattle Seahawks against the Tavis phones on. Against Arizona Cardinals
time.
in
It's always on.
Arizona.
Is it in Philly?
It's not in Philadelphia. It is in fucking Arizona.
This game's not in Philadelphia.
No, this is not in Philadelphia.
It's not in Philly.
Oh shit.
I'll fill your Delphia if you want later. Ew. Okay, but it's in Arizona in the dome. The dome. Anyways, let's start off in Seattle side. Want to talk about that running back situation over there, or where do you want to start?
Yeah,
out
we
at?
can talk about the running back situation. So last week, Chris Carson. So it's been back and forth, like Rashad Penny, Chris Carson, Rashad Penny, Chris Carson. But before the season started, Pete Carroll came out and said, Chris Carson's our guy. I mean, it kind of didn't make sense why they would draft Rashad Penny in the first round if Chris Carson was the guy. But last week they showed it. He had 32 rushes. He had 34 total touches. This week he's playing against Arizona. Now, it might be a tough matchup if you look at it because Arizona's only allowed 3.7 yards per carry, but Arizona's actually given up the most touchdowns in the league with 5. So, I mean, Chris Carson's going to see a heavy workload like that, even if he only sees 20 touches, there's a good chance that he's going to get a rushing touchdown. I mean, like I said, the Cardinals are giving up the most rushing touchdowns in the league. So
I suppose if there's
I like
time
Chris
to play
Carson
him,
this week, yeah.
if there's a time to play him, it might be this week.
Yeah, for sure. Especially he's coming off a hot game. I mean, he was kind of limited throughout the week in practice, but, I mean, guy just ran the ball 32 times. I think it was the most carries. I was listening to another podcast or read something. It was the most carries that anyone's had in like the last, I don't even know, 5 years, 8 years, something crazy like that.
Wow.
Out of Seattle.
Dude,
yeah, if you look
solid
at
stat.
if you look at the snap counts, week 1 it was 44% for both Rashad Penny and Chris Carson. Week 2 it was 29% Chris Carson and 30% Penny and 27% process actually. But last week where the big jump was is it went from 72% of the snaps to Chris Carson to only 14 to Rashad Penny. So if you see more of the same this week with the Arizona game script that should be in their favor, they're Arizona starting a rookie quarterback. Chris Carson should be in line for another. If he sees 72% of snaps, he's going to get you 15 to 20 carries at least.
Yeah, I mean, so what do you think? What do you think about Rashad Penny? Is you keeping him on your bench? I mean, what do you?
As of right now, from what we saw last week and
I kept him.
2 weeks going in, he hasn't had a snap percentage over 30%. I don't feel comfortable starting someone on, maybe relatively 15 to 20 snaps in a game.
Yeah, he's maybe like if you're in a dynasty or if you got like a super deep bench, you hold him down. But I mean, I think his value is only there if something happens to Chris Carson.
Yeah, I mean, you can hold him as a stash because he was a first-round pick. So Chris Carson hasn't been the most effective running back yet. I feel like they do use him again, similar to the way they used him. But if you want to stash him and you believe that he's a first-round talent and talent's going to win in the long run, I think that's why you hold him. But if you see another week or two with the snap percentage like this, he becomes droppable at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I dropped him in a league.
Yeah. All right. So the reports are that Doug Baldwin's going to come back and he's going to play this week. If he's able to play, are you throwing him in your lineup?
Yeah, I think he's a wide receiver 2 playing this week. I mean, Russell Wilson, he needs him out there.
Yeah.
I mean, that line is not good. I mean, he has Tyler Lockett, who's a big play guy. He has Brandon Marshall, who's he's out there doing what he can at his age. But Baldwin's his guy, and he might not have 100 massive game, but he's shown red zone upside in the past a lot, and even with not playing for a few weeks, there's chemistry for a few years for them. So I wouldn't look at him as a locked and loaded wide receiver 1, but I'd look at him as a wide receiver 2 in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna put him out there, I can't imagine them not using him. I mean, Brandon Marshall's kind of just been out there. I think he's only seen like maybe 4 or 5 targets a game. Lockett's the guy who's actually been the big play guy. Seems like he's getting a touchdown every single week with Baldwin out. And it just seems, I've never been a big Baldwin fan, but it just seems like him and Russell Wilson, they just have the connection. He's always getting it done. Russell's scrambling, running for his life, and Baldwin, he just chucks it up, and Baldwin somehow gets open.
You're
Puts
playing
a point,
Disley.
Disley, ooh.
They like him over there.
Well, I would actually hold on back to the receivers real quick. Sorry. If Doug Baldwin does play, I wouldn't feel comfortable starting Brandon Marshall if he plays. If he does play, Tyler Lockett is just a high upside flex at that point. I kind of downgrade him versus where if Baldwin's out, I feel comfortable with Lockett as like a 2 flex.
Yeah, no, I agree. I 100% agree with everything there. Actually, I dropped Marshall in one of my leagues because I think Baldwin does come back, and I think it's obvious. If he couldn't get it done when Baldwin wasn't there, I can't imagine a scenario where Brandon Marshall gets it done with Baldwin actually in the lineup,
Yeah.
So I dropped him in one of my leagues. As far as Disley for the tight end, that scenario is just tricky because, I know, Anthony, I know you were big on Vanette all preseason.
Well, I just figured there was a tight end to have a role there.
Yeah.
And it ended up being Disley to start the year.
But then it was Vanette last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, so you're almost
Russian roulette at tight ends.
Yeah,
and they're not even good tight ends.
I think I'm starting Will Disley in the league where I lost Evan Ingram.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a pinch and you just need to, all right, who can score a touchdown for me? I guess take a shot at one of these two. But there's some streamer options I like a little better at tight end. I think Ben Watson's available in a decent amount of waiver wires. He's someone I like this week. I think if Alshon Jeffrey's out, I'd even rather take a stab at Dallas Goedert having another decent game.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Just because the lack of weapons over there. I'd try and avoid those tight ends if I could.
Yeah, for sure. Russell Wilson, I mean, you got him, you're playing him. You might maybe just temper expectations for him. He's typically he starts off slow. I mean, just don't expect him to put up a huge game. He could, but
This game in Arizona or in Seattle?
It's in Arizona.
Okay, yeah, he does actually have a little bit of a home road split. I think it's like 4 or 5 points less on the road versus home.
I mean, I don't know if it's just the way you think about it, but when I think of Seattle and Arizona, I just think of like a defensive game, like low scoring. Like I can't imagine this being a shootout. So I can't imagine a ton of points being put up, and especially if they're going to run the ball, it's chewing up the clock. I mean, Russell Wilson will probably be like on the back end QB1 for me this week.
You don't think Josh Rosen's the truth?
Josh Rosen, he could be. I mean, you never know. You never know.
All right, so let's move over to Seattle's defense is a good play this week, actually.
Yeah, Seattle's
speaking
defense.
of
Yeah,
Josh
if you're going to
Rosen.
stream some defenses, every week we try to find some defenses you can stream. Seattle would be one of the defenses I would stream. Just like I said, rookie quarterback, first start. Seattle's defense, they're not who they were, but they're still a good defense.
Yeah. All right, Arizona. Josh Rosen, rookie start against Seattle. I wouldn't be firing up this week.
I don't think any. Yeah, that's pretty ball. If you play Josh Rosen this week, that's pretty ballsy, dude.
You're probably like 14.
That's a bold strategy, Cotton.
You're 14 in a
That better be
diehard
a
Cardinals
3
fan.
quarterback league.
3 quarterback league.
Is that a fucking thing? I don't
Yeah, there's
know.
2 quarterbacks in super flexes, which you can. The wide receiver position. I guess if you want to take a shot with Fitzgerald in a PPR, I think that'd be the only one I'd feel not even necessarily comfortable with because his offense doesn't look very good. But you drafted him probably relatively high, and if you're low at receiver and you got maybe Funchess on a bye, and maybe don't feel comfortable starting someone else. In a PPR league, he's a rookie. Maybe he leans into Fitzgerald a few times and gets some receptions.
Yeah, one thing with Fitzgerald we've kind of noticed, he's kind of like he has those home road splits. So there at home, obviously, he plays a lot better. He actually has according to Pro Football Focus, he has a positive matchup with the slot corner he's going against. I think it was like plus 30 or something like that, 30%. So, I mean, if you have Fitz, I think he's at least a flex, probably with wide receiver 2 upside. I mean, we'll see if Rosen wants to be successful. Larry Fitz is his best weapon, him and David Johnson. So you think that he would want to get them the ball as much as possible. So, I mean, we'll just see how it pans out. But if you have Larry Fitz, like I said, probably a flex guy at least for sure, right?
Yeah, in a PPR league, I picked him up in a standard league, and I'm considering.
Yeah, standard would be
him.
he'd be on my bench.
Yeah.
He'd be on my bench this week until I could see something done. He'd be on my bench.
And if you're in a deep league, maybe if you have empty bench space, maybe give the rookie Christian Kirk a flyer. If you have an extra bench space, Maybe see if it comes in and there's some kind of rookie connection. Maybe Larry Fitzgerald. Maybe Larry Fitzgerald, kind of is on the decline for all we know, and Christian Kirk ends up, being like a 1A and 1B in this offense. Maybe he's not a, weekly wide receiver too, but maybe you get some flex play value out of him down the road.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much the future right there, Christian Kirk and Josh Rosen. So especially if you're in a dynasty league, definitely keep Christian Kirk and stash him for the future. Going to David Johnson. So David Johnson has just been disappointing everyone.
I think this is if you it's too late now, but I think this is the time to trade for David Johnson.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think one of these weeks he's gonna have a big game. I think.
I mean, it's one of those things where if the owner has to give up on him, because I've tried prying him, and sometimes you drafted him number 3, 2, 1. Even some people drafted him number 1 overall. So some people it's hard prying him away, but try it,
dude. Yeah, I mean, people are getting frustrated, and especially if this week 4, if it happens again where he puts up sorry ass numbers, dude, definitely that's someone you definitely need to trade for. But
I mean,
obviously you have to play him.
My bad.
Yeah, obviously you have to play him though. I mean.
The coaches have said they want to get him more involved, and I think they kind of recognize that they need to get him more involved. And the snap count percentages went up each of the last 3 weeks from 68 to 78 to 86. So he is on the field, but the concerning thing is where you're like, into this year I had worries about the offense, scoring a lot of points. But I was like, he's going to be safe in the target department. He's going to get 80 receptions, 60 at least on a down year. But he's just not getting the receptions right now, and that's the worrisome part. So, hopefully with Rosen, that's fixed. Hopefully the coaching staff realizes, hey, David Johnson's a weapon, and we need him out there. So, hopefully this is a get-right game for him.
Sure. I think the problem is everyone drafted him to be, you drafted him to be your RB1. You drafted him to be a top 5, running back for you, which I still think he's going to finish in the top 15 overall. Like you said, he's just not getting those receptions. He's not running as many routes as he once was. With Arians' pass attack was vertical, ton of passes. Still Steve Wilkes' pass attack is non-existent. So that's kind of what's affecting him. But I mean, here's the game. I'm looking at some of the numbers here. So the Seahawks, they give up the 3rd most rushing yards per game, and they give up 5.1 yards per carry a game. So if he can't get it done this game, then I'm seriously going to be worried, because I mean, you're giving up the 3rd most yards, over 5 yards a carry per game. You should get it done here. One stat the Seahawks have, though, they've given up 0 touchdowns on the ground. So I think this is the week it changes. David Johnson punches one in. I think he has a good game this week.
Cardinals defense.
I think you can start him.
I picked him up in the league.
Russell Wilson does get that line is getting him sacked a lot.
Yeah.
And that defense, although they don't have a lot of sacks, I believe they're top 5 in pressures. So what pressures means is basically they're getting in the quarterback's face, causing them to scramble or make errant throws. So with that line being bad, I could see this, like Tyler's already said, these games are generally low scoring.
These are going to be low scoring. I mean, remember 2 years ago, these teams played each other, and I think it was they tied 6-6. Remember that game when?
They both missed field goals in overtime.
Yeah, crazy.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a 10-14 game, and even if Arizona loses and they get you 2-3 sacks and maybe an interception, I mean that'll be a good defensive play for the week.
That's my thinking. Divisional game, I think in Arizona, I like it.
Do you feel the tight end Ricky Seals at all? I think I'd be avoiding him at this point.
I'd definitely be avoiding him. We'll see. Like you said, it's Rosen's first start. We'll see. Maybe he leans on Ricky Seals a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe Seals is the guy he's hyper targeting. So this is gotta pay attention to see who he favors in the passing game. If he was smart, it'd be Larry Fitz and David Johnson. But yeah, we'll see. All right, let's jump into the very next matchup. It's the Cleveland Browns at the Oakland Raiders. So the Browns, they finally got off the schneid, got the first win. Everyone feels like they won the Super Bowl. Congratulations, you won one game. I don't get why everyone's celebrating.
Yeah.
You won one game. You're a professional sports team. You should win more than one game.
Yeah, Cody.
Get it together.
One game, all right?
Get it together.
Want my fucking jersey back.
Did you see that meme where this big fat dude's it's like Browns fans are getting way too confident, and he tries to jump this gap and just completely just
I did see that.
misses it.
I did see that.
It's one game. I get it. You haven't won it forever, but dude, it's just one game. But honestly, I like the Browns. The Browns are +3 in this game, and I like the Browns. I think they actually win this game. Their defense has been really good, and their offense looks good. Mayfield looks good. I mean, I've seen him in college. He looks good, and the Raiders
do not.
The Raiders are just, I don't know. We'll see. Gruden's maybe stuck in the 90s with this team. So,
I mean, they've been competitive in every game. They had that Denver game, and they blew it. They were beating us for a decent amount of the game, I think, right last week. No.
yeah.
And then even with the Rams, they were competitive in the first half.
Yeah.
So they've been competitive in every game. It's not like they're either 0-3, but they're not going out there getting destroyed. Derek Carr is silently thrown for over 300 yards in every game. I think he's averaging like 320 yards through the air. So he's actually playing decent. The thing is I think he's thrown like 2 or 3 touchdowns in the season.
So the touchdowns just aren't there.
Yeah, the touchdowns aren't there. So I mean, maybe it's a new offense too. It's a new offensive system. It's just put in play. But the yardage is something to where when you're seeing that, that's a good sign. One of the knocks I kind of had on Derek Carr was, he's never thrown for X amount of yards in a season. But I mean, through 3 games, he's already thrown 300 yards. Or he averages, I think, it's 315 or 320 in 3 games. So he's had high touchdown upside seasons. He's thrown for 30 in a season. So if he can kind of balance this out and get these touchdowns right, I think Derek Carr could be someone over maybe the second half or, going forward. You might have some high upside stream weeks with.
Would you start him this week, though?
This week, no, I wouldn't be starting him.
Yeah, I would not start
Cleveland's defense is actually really fucking
Yeah, I mean,
good.
they limited Ben. They limited Drew Brees. So,
Yeah.
I wouldn't start Derek Carr this week. Like you said, I need to see more touchdowns before. Yardage is nice, but, I mean, touchdowns is where the bread and butter is at. So.
Right.
So let's go to the skill players. So Marshawn Lynch, beast mode. We're Dolphin fans, like we said. We watched the game last week when they played, and he just looks good, man. I mean, that guy, you're getting full grown-ass 300-plus pound men trying to take him down, and he's just bouncing off people, dragging people. It takes like 4 guys to take him down.
Yeah.
So he's got a touchdown every game. I would definitely start at Marshawn in this game.
That's so hot.
RB2.
Yeah, I think he's going to get the bulk of the carries. The only thing with Marshawn is going forward, when they get negative game scripts, he kind of gets taken off the field. But this is a Cleveland game where I think this should be relatively competitive. So, I don't think anyone sees the Browns going out there and destroying the Raiders. So,
Yeah.
I think he's a safe RB2 in this.
Yeah, the Browns have given up 4 rushing touchdowns already, and that's in the bottom, 5 in the league. So I think he's a good lock to maybe get another rushing touchdown this week.
Yeah. If you're in a pinch, you just need a second running back somehow. Jalen Richard sees a lot of targets.
Yeah.
So this is a game to where if it ends up being a decent scoring game, he can get you maybe 5 receptions and give you in a PPR league, give you some type of running back floor.
For sure. All right, let's move on to the receivers and the tight end. So Amari Cooper, we heard someone the other day, he was saying Amari Cooper's in this own category. He's in his own category. So it's like you can't drop him, you can't trade him, but you can't bench him. So it's like, what do you do with Amari Cooper?
Yeah, you literally. It's like all three.
People are doing the dropping part. I've seen it.
It's like we talk about certain players are boom or bust players, but Amari Cooper is literally the ultimate boom or bust player.
Dude, it is insane.
And it's one of those things too. It's like his boom or bust are hard to predict because he'll boom against a tough matchup.
Yeah.
And bust against the worst defense in the league. So it's hard to predict. I mean, it's early in the season still. It's been a disappointment. I would probably see if I have better options than Amari. But if you don't, I mean, sometimes you got to ride the wave. And if you're not willing to ride it, he could have one of those 8 receptions, 120 blow up games. But if you have receiver depth and you have some nice matchups and some good wide receivers, I would go elsewhere. But I think he's a flex play he always has massive upside. So
Yeah. I think the thing with him is that first week he played against the Rams, Talib and Marcus Peters. I mean, that's probably the best cornerback duo in the league. Week 2, everyone thought it was going to be a tough matchup playing against the Broncos. But, man, I don't know. They moved him around a lot, maybe. I don't know. Cliff Harris is their best corner, but he plays in the slot mainly. So maybe Cooper was outside more. So maybe that's why he had the 10 receptions. Last week against the Dolphins, I don't think a lot of people give Xavier Howard the credit he deserves, but he's turning into one of the premier lockdown corners in the league. So he had 3 targets against Xavier Howard, 1 catch for 5 yards. So this week against the Browns, Denzel Ward, the first-round rookie for them, he's pretty good, but we'll see. I mean, like I said, if they just move Amari around the ball, he's obviously their best receiver, so they just need to find ways to get him the ball. The thing with this offense is just crazy. It's week 1, it was Cook. He blew up. And then week 2, it was Amari Cooper. He blew up. And then week 3, it was Jordy Nelson, he blew up. So it's like, is every week it going to be a different player who's putting up 100 yards and a touchdown?
Yeah, but part of the Jordy
watch
Nelson
Mark?
blow up was Mike.
No, you're good.
It was like a 15-yard slant. He took it 60 yards, and then there's another busted coverage on Jordy Nelson. So I think 100 plus of his yards came after the catch last
Yeah.
week. So that was something. It's like I said, it's if you need some upside, I'm starting him in one league because I need some upside. He could have a dud.
Martavis?
Martavis. I mean, Martavis.
I mean, if the patterns, if the patterns follow in suit, Martavis is coming right up.
I would think I'd give Martavis. He really
Actually,
hasn't had
no.
deep targets yet, is the thing I've seen from him because I've been watching the Raiders on TV a lot. And if he was getting some deep targets, I'd feel more comfortable with him. But he's not really. This offense is quick and get it out. It's to get the ball out quick. And I think it's another thing that's hurting Amari Cooper's upside is Derek Carr is basically off his first read and go. And I've even read reports where it's like, Amari Cooper is open. Week 1, Gruden was like, Amari Cooper was open deep. We need to hit him. The interception he threw last week, he had Howard and the other corner burned off the line, but Derek Carr, hesitated to throw the ball deep. So that's why I don't really feel comfortable with Martavis Bryant. It is just Derek Carr is not comfortable throwing the ball deep for whatever reason right now.
I feel like maybe they just haven't built that rapport, maybe.
And that's a possibility.
Yeah, but it's been 4 years almost now, so either you got it or you
No, no,
don't.
no.
Oh, it's talking about Martavis.
Martavis.
Oh, Martavis.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm talking about Cooper. I mean, okay, Cooper, flex, wide receiver 2 upside.
Yeah.
Nelson.
I think I'd bench it.
Nelson be like a flex guy for me. It just depends on what your roster looks like. If you have better matchups, I don't know if I'd play him. Because, I mean, like you said, he had that one game, and they were pretty
think
much 2 plays off broken coverage,
I think for the most part, if you have Jordy Nelson, you probably have a better option
Yeah, I agree with that.
and a better matchup.
I mean, yeah, a week ago, people
In
were
your
dropping
lineup.
Jordy Nelson. He was on the
Yeah.
waiver wire,
Yeah, yeah.
and then, so, I mean, maybe a flex, take a shot at him as a flex, but I wouldn't see anything more than that.
for sure.
Martavis, definitely not. Cook.
The tight end's so thin at this point. You got to play him. 'cause
He's actually a top 5 tight end right now, so.
he's getting targets. So at this
Yeah.
point, you got to play him.
All right, let's move over to the Cleveland side, yeah?
Yep.
Let's go to the running backs situation. I like Carlos Hyde.
Start him RB2.
yeah,
we
I
can make
like
this
Carlos
pretty quick
Hyde.
with him because he's getting a lot of volume.
Just, Carlos Hyde, he's I think he's at 4 touchdowns already, right?
Yeah,
So
you're not
it's-
benching Hyde at this point.
The Raiders give up 5.1 yards per carry on the ground, so yeah, fire up Hyde for sure.
For sure.
Baker Mayfield. I don't know if I don't really feel ever comfortable starting a rookie in their first start.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess if you're in a 2 quarterback league. and
but if
you
you're in a
need
2
some,
quarterback
but-
league, then
I
okay.
mean, I'd rather start him than some of the other rookies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
But
sure.
but in a 1 quarterback league, even down to 12 or even down to 14 team leagues, I don't think I'd want to start Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
His rookie debut.
So Landry, bless him, he's in there every week. I mean, he's got 15 targets in 2 of the 3 games.
Yeah,
And I think he just gets 10 plus targets every single game.
I think when we saw him coming into the year, he was a player where everyone, I mean, us and then, other analysts around or, the NFL were like, he's not going to see that 160 target volume we saw in Miami, but the cards kind of played out right. And I think he might be 150, 160 target guy again.
Yeah, for sure. Every week he's pretty much like wide receiver 1 territory right there.
Yeah. Antonio Callaway, I think, is a name to keep an eye on. He's like the outside one. If Baker Mayfield ends up being a legit quarterback 1, like he's the outside target. So he could have some week to week like streaming type of value in matchups where Landry's going to see shadow coverage. So he's just a name to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I mean, if he's on your waiver wire, I'd definitely go pick him up if he had a spot. Because he had 10 targets last week, so.
Yeah, and he showed a knack
that's
to
a
make
lot.
some big plays too. Like he made some big plays in the preseason. He was actually open a few times deep, and Tyrod missed him.
Yeah.
So he's shows some big play potential. So yeah, like Tyler said, if you have a free bench space, like you're just holding a handcuff, like maybe Antonio Callaway blows up this week, and you have him. You don't have to waste fab or a waiver acquisition on him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, he was a first round talent. He just fell to like the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, something like that, due to some off the field issues. But from an athletic, standpoint, yeah, first round talent right there. So stash him if you can. So Njoku, tight end position, like you're saying, tight end position is just so thin. I think you got to.
I kind of like Njoku this week actually.
Yeah.
He had 2 targets, and they both came once Baker Mayfield came in the game.
Yeah. Well, I know one thing with Baker too is when he was in Oklahoma, he would target the tight end a lot. So I mean, Njoku, like you say, he's a big athletic freak across the middle of the field. They definitely need to get him more involved because he's a big guy, and he's an athletic freak. So I like Njoku this week. So
All right.
These defenses, probably not starting either one of these defenses.
Nah.
I like watching the Browns defense, but I don't know if I'd start them.
I mean, they've been.
You could.
You could start the Browns.
You could start
actually.
the Browns, but not Raiders.
All right,
Yeah,
okay,
Raiders.
I agree with that one. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
All right, moving on. We're going to the next matchup. It's the San Francisco 49ers against the Los Angeles Chargers. I almost said San Diego. I just always want to say San Diego Chargers still.
Can they
I
just
don't
go
know.
back to San Diego?
Yeah, I
Because it was
know,
a
right? Jeez.
lot more funner when they were there.
All right, so we're trying to run
It's
through
a
these a little
lot.
bit faster.
Hey, wait a second.
I
wait
said
a
that on
second.
purpose.
Oh, okay.
If you heard me pause, I was like, should I say it? Fuck it.
Okay.
All right, so for the Chargers side, Rivers, you're dialing him up. Melvin Gordon, dialing him up. Keenan Allen, just keep an eye on him. Make sure he plays. He was like missed some practice, but I think a limited practice, something tooth. I don't know. He's always got the craziest,
Yeah, some weird injuries.
weirdest things. I think he plays. So if he's in, you're obviously playing him. Mike Williams, what do you guys think?
I think this is a plus matchup for the Chargers in general. So, I mean,
Yeah.
he showed a knack for the end zone. Keenan
I
Allen.
mean, Williams made it in the end zone against the Rams.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
No Richard Sherman. He's out for 2 to 3 weeks, I believe.
yeah. And then I lost my train of thought. Oh, I mean, you just talked about Keenan Allen being a little banged up and possibly not being 100%. So, you know, maybe if they get out to a big lead in this, I mean, the Niners might not have Alfred Morris, Matt Breida. They don't have
Anybody.
Jimmy Jesus. So this could be a game that could get out of hand really fast. Which, you know, I'll even transition into, I think Austin Eckler is a good flex play this week because of that game script, and he catches the ball.
Yeah.
This might be a Melvin Gordon 2-touchdown game. Third quarter, he's out, and Austin Eckler's out there on the field. So
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with that. Stat I saw on the Niners have allowed the 4th most receptions to running backs. So, I mean, that's good for Eckler and even Melvin Gordon, who's been getting crazy amount of targets. So, and like you said, Eckler too. I think Eckler's getting like a couple catches here and there every game. So, and Eckler's one of those guys where he can catch a little dump off and take it 40 yards to the house.
Eckler's someone who slid under my radar just because I have Melvin Gordon in most of my leagues.
Yeah.
So I'm not even paying attention to that.
Yeah,
But
same.
he's
Yeah,
actually,
that's kind of
but
in
if
the
you
same
actually look
boat.
at the stats, it's pretty surprising how much he's.
well, he had a role last year, and then they talked, you know, how they want to get Melvin Gordon even more involved in the passing game, which they did. But they also mentioned how they even wanted to get Eckler more involved as well, is what it came down to. So, you know, he's had weekly, and he's an explosive player too. You know, he makes big he's like a Philip Lindsay almost, where he doesn't need a lot of volume. He just makes big plays consistently, it seems like, with the targets he gets.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so yeah, like we said, just keep an eye on Keenan Allen, make sure he plays. Mike Williams, I think he's at least flex guy, wide receiver 2 upside.
Chargers D top 5 play this week.
Yeah, Chargers defense. It's kind of crazy because they've put up negative points, I think, in 2 of the 3 weeks, but then they put up 11 against the Bills. Some people might be thinking, oh, they're terrible. They might be on the waiver wire. I would definitely go get them and stream them up this week. I'm streaming them up in a couple leagues this week too. But just the thing I wanted to touch on, for some reason, if Keenan Allen doesn't play and you're in a pinch and you need a flex player, check out Tyrell Williams because he's probably there on the waiver wire. And, you know, Mike Williams and Eckler and Gordon can't get all the targets. Or can they?
Gordon might take all of them.
So San Francisco, CJ Beathard, QB1.
Definitely not. Let's not even, no, you're not starting a
Skip.
quarterback here. The Niners landscape is brutal.
The one player I'm interested to see what happens. I mean, I feel like if Breida plays, you're starting him because he's been an RB2 throughout the year. But CJ Beathard, when he was the quarterback for the Niners last year, in those games, Carlos Hyde saw 50. I believe it was 52 targets in those games.
Yeah.
So he threw about. I'm forgetting the percentage, but
It's like a 30%.
It's like a
to the
30%.
running
Yeah, I
backs.
was looking at it earlier. So Matt Breida is someone who might have a nice, just future outlook bump, and he's someone actually to where, like, if he's out this game, and I see Kyle, I mean, if him and Morse are out, maybe put Kyle Juszczyk out there if you're in a pinch, because the running backs could see a lot of targets. But if I see a heavy, you know, CJ Beathard thrown to the running backs, Matt Breida might be someone I'm kind of trying to target, you know, as like a guy where everyone thinks, oh, he's done, that Jimmy Garoppolo's gone, this offense is going to suck. But, you know, he might be. Carlos Hyde was relevant last year because he got, you know, 52 targets in like 10 games or 8 games, something like that.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with that. Just got to keep an eye on Breida because his knee's banged up, and he pretty much came out and said, like, he doesn't even know if he's going to play. It's a long season. He wants to make sure he can preserve his body for the long season. So he said he's like 50-50 on playing.
And if he's out, you can go with Morris as like a flex play in that week.
Yeah, for sure. Kittle, tight end.
He's one of those tight ends where you like he's good enough to where you have to.
You
play
kind of
him.
have to. Like I said, we're constantly saying about the tight ends, the landscape, and it's just so thin. So it's like you have these guys who are, top 12 guys. You just got to throw them in there every week, and it's like a hit or miss.
When
every
you have
week
your top
sometimes.
league, like if they're a top 12 talent, you could say at the position, you just got to roll with the punches and just pretty much start them every week when you have them.
So for these receivers, Garcon and Goodwin.
I don't really feel too comfortable starting Garcon. I think
Me neither.
Goodwin, if you need a boom type of flex play, like maybe he catches a long ball, but I know CJ Beathard, his numbers, there was a pretty big dip from him and Garoppolo last year, and we all know, Beathard's not Garoppolo, but I mean, it's the NFL. Any week someone goes out there and makes plays, so Goodwin has, elite speed, so wouldn't put past me if he catches a 50-yard bomb. So
Yeah. I think for me personally, the only player I'd be comfortable playing is Breida, just because you're saying Beathard, he tends to lean on the running back, those passes and stuff like that, and he looks better than Morris does in the run game too. So Niners defense, definitely not playing them.
nope.
No.
Next.
Okay, let's we got the New Orleans Saints versus the New York Giants in New York.
All right, just start everybody.
Just this.
Yeah, fuck.
I think last time they played, like Drew Brees and Eli Manning had like over 850 yards combined. It was
Yeah.
basically like the Thursday night game.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, all jokes aside, we could start with the Saints. I mean, you're starting Brees, you're starting Kamara, you're starting Michael Thomas.
Starting Mark Ingram.
Probably take a flyer on Ginn, maybe in a flex if you're in a pinch.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too. Yeah, I mean, this New Orleans can't stop anyone on defense right now, and the Saints, they have an elite offense. So I mean, they're going to put up points. They're going to have points put on them. So there's going to be a lot of targets to go around. I'm streaming Ben Watson in a league because I think if there's 30 points in this game, there's a potential that he falls in the end zone. So Michael Thomas has to go against Jenkins.
Janoris Jenkins,
Yeah, and he's not going to shut him down, but maybe he takes away a few targets that could possibly go to the tight end position.
Yeah, 100%. I do know the Giants struggle against tight ends. Seen the stat on that one time.
Yeah, I think they were dead last year.
Yeah. So Saints defense, definitely not. It's probably not starting either defense in this one. Just
No.
to get those ones out of the way. All right, moving over to the Giants ball. Eli Manning.
I think Eli Manning is a streaming option you can roll with this week.
Yeah, I like Eli Manning this week. Actually, I'm streaming him in a league. He went 25 for 29 last week. He looked good. I mean, he's got the weapons. You got Odell, you got Sterling Shepard. Yeah, they lost Ingram, but you still got Barkley. And I mean, if I got those three guys and I'm throwing them the ball against a Saints defense that, like you're saying, is the bottom of the league, if not the worst. I mean, those are three studs that I want to throw the ball to. So I like Eli this week, especially in a game that should be a shootout.
Yeah, the Saints are giving up 63.3 points to the wide receiver position per week. 9 touchdowns. And 8 out of those 9 touchdowns have actually came to the wide receiver too. So I think Sterling Shepard's someone you could fire up this week for sure.
Yeah.
Odell, you're firing up.
Odell, you're finding Barkley firing up. So
I think we probably.
all right, we just move on to that one. That one's, like I said, it's a high-scoring game. Sometimes in these fantasy matchups, you just kind of want to look maybe like the Vegas over/under for these games. If it's a lower-scoring game compared to a high-scoring game, and
Right.
you're kind of deciding between player A and player B.
This is the second highest,
Yeah.
besides Buffalo and.
Yeah, sometimes I'll try to look at what's a high-scoring projecting game, because the more points that are being scored, the more touchdowns, the more fantasy points for my players. So if especially if I'm in a pinch between like player A, player B, who do I play? Sometimes I'll look at like, okay, this is a high-scoring game compared to this is like not a high-scoring game.
Dude, that's
so.
some,
Nice
dude, that's some
analysis. That's like
sound-
science.
That's some sound,
Bro,
fucking
I had the
science.
fucking
Sports
Starbucks
science.
and the carbohydrates, bro, and the fucking protons.
Protons and neutrons. Don't forget the neutrons, bro. Some people that get just the protons. No, dog. You gotta get both protons, fucking neutrons, spitfire, connected. Everything's going great. And then all of a sudden, brainwave functionality comes in. You play the fucking
Fucking
high-scoring
brain
game,
blast, bro. Brain blast.
Dude, Jimmy Neutron, bro.
All right, moving on to the Sunday night game. Baltimore Ravens at Pittsburgh Steelers. What do you think, Mike? These are your Steelers,
This
boy.
is a matchup made in heaven. I think this is a. I think the Ravens have a great defense, but you'd be surprised. People will show up. It's in Pittsburgh. I know Ben had a big week last week against Tom Brady. Or Jesus Christ, I was calling Tom Brady against
had a good week against Tom
Tampa
Brady.
Bay. I meant to say Tampa Bay.
Tom Brady could probably play defense.
Against
Hey,
the
Tom Brady.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I just what's it called? Oh, there he is.
Use your words, bro.
Sorry. I was like doing 4 things at once. I think Big Ben's gonna have a big game this week, just being at home.
Yeah.
He'll show up. I think AB will get. I think AB is going to get 2 touchdowns. This is bold prediction right here.
Bold
AB,
prediction?
2 touchdowns, baby.
How many did Juju get?
0, because I don't have AB. Or I mean, don't have.
Not Juju.
All right, so yeah, in this game, I mean, it's a division game. Like I said, Big Ben's his home road splits that's a real thing. So, but he typically plays really good at home, and in prime time, he usually comes to play. So,
Yeah.
I think Ben, you're for sure dialing him up. AB, Juju, you're dialing him up. Connor, dialing him up. Let's just jump to the tight end. It's kind of Jesse James had some good games, and then Vance McDonald came back, and then he had that game where he ended Chris Conti's career.
Did they drop? Did something happen to him really, or he just fucking?
He's hurt. That Chris Conti was already hurt. Like he had like something wrong with his knee, and I guess like when he fucking rock bottomed him into the ground, he like hurt his knee even more. So now he's on the IR. So like we're always talking about the tight end landscape is really thin. Like would you stream one of these tight ends? You start one of these tight ends right here?
I mean, Vance McDonald's seen at least 5 targets in both games.
Jesse James is very much like he's not gonna have huge plays. They'll target him sometimes in the red zone, but not really like. I don't know. You probably pull up stats.
Well, I'm just saying, not too much stats, just snap percentages. They're both in the field about 50% of the snaps. So even though Vance McDonald's in the 2 weeks has seen more targets, for all we know, this could be a Jesse James out there gunslinging for more targets and more points.
Yeah, I just see Jesse James as always like if it's like 2nd and 3. I don't know. He's not really like versus Vance McDonald will be out there making longer plays.
Yeah.
So
like
more breaking necks.
Yeah. Something I would maybe think is Jesse James has been there. He's the veteran. He's been on the team for a while, right, Mike?
Yeah, a little bit.
So, and if he was the guy, if they were confident in him, I don't think they would have went out and traded for Vance McDonald. So obviously they went out and traded for Vance McDonald for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, you see the play he had last week, what he's capable of. So I think if I was going to pick between one of the two, it'd probably be Vance McDonald, especially if he's getting 5 targets per game since he's been back. That's pretty decent for a tight end, with how bleak it is at that position. So
yeah, I mean, there's a possibility they're easing him in. But if it is in the 50% snap range, it's just going to be hard to, bank on a consistent target, especially when you have AB and Juju Smith-Schuster out there. Unfortunately, maybe 20 out of the 30 snaps he runs, those are the main reads, and he doesn't even see a read in more than 10 of the snaps. So it's a tight end's thin, but this should be a shootout. We kind of all agree that it's going to be a high-scoring game. So if you want to take a flyer on Vance McDonald, maybe he's out there just breaking more necks and runs another one into the end zone.
For sure. All right, so let's jump over to the Ravens side of the ball. Joe Flacco. It's a shootout. You were just saying potentially. Would you dial him up or?
I actually like Joe Flacco as a streaming option this week. I feel like Joe Flacco kind of has a little bit of that sneaky Alex Smith syndrome last year, where Alex Smith syndrome, where I'm turning into what's his name from NFL Network, where they kind of drafted a rookie quarterback, and it kind of like made him step up his game a little bit. I think this is a game where he's probably a solid bet for 250 and 2. I think he's been about 250 yards in every game so far, and the Steelers are just giving it up to opposing like quarterbacks right now.
Yeah, like you were saying, the Steelers defense has
just been our secondaries. So
it's been really bad lately. So I mean, if they can put up some points, you think the Ravens are gonna have to fire back and put up some points too. I mean, I guess if you need to stream someone maybe this week, Flacco could be a decent option, I guess, but especially if you're in 2 quarterback leagues. I don't even know why they have those leagues.
He's averaging 2 touchdowns a game, and it looks like right about 290 something yards in 3 games.
It's pretty solid, actually.
So I mean, if you get that in this game, which is not undoable, I mean, you're happy with that at the quarterback position.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so the running backs, Alex Collins and Buck Allen. So
you can start both of them. They're almost like both startable. The Ravens.
If you had both, what would you do? I mean, I don't know.
If I had both, I would go with Alex Collins. I just think he has the massive game upside where, he's going to get the bulk of the carries. You could see him with the 15, 16 carry game. Maybe he gets his first 100-yard rushing game. Maybe he falls in the end zone for 2 touchdowns. And he low-key gets a lot of targets and gets receptions too. I could see a game where it's 150, 160 scrimmage yards, maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns, where I don't really think Buck Allen offers that upside.
I know that Alex Collins' stats have been better than Buck Allen, but Harbaugh, for some reason, just likes Buck Allen. Like he trusts him, especially when they get in close. Like he's giving him the ball, and he's not giving Alex Collins the ball. This is kind of one of those.
He
backfields.
has red zone carries though. He does.
Yeah, no, for sure. This is one of those backfields I kind of stayed away from in the draft process because I think they both had around 200 total touches last year, and I don't know. It just seems, like you said, it was like a running back by committee. And Alex Collins' draft price was going in like the 3rd round, 4th round, maybe. It was just kind of too high for a guy that I wasn't sure about, his volume and what he was going to get. I don't think Buck Allen's going away anywhere, and he's on a ton of waiver wire. So if he's out there on your waiver wire, I would definitely go get him and grab him. This backfield makes me nervous. If I had Alex Collins, I would never feel confident really rolling him out there.
Right.
I think he's more of like a low end RB2 flex guy instead of like that solid RB2 that you really drafted him for.
Right.
Yeah, I think he's more of a flex play at this point. I don't know why they give Buck Allen the ball a lot. I think Alex Collins is averaging 10 yards a catch. Buck Allen's at like 4.
Yeah.
He just runs better. It just doesn't make sense really. They're flex plays at this point. It's a shootout, so one or two of them should score in this game. If you're RB2 thing, we've said if you're in a pinch, I'd rather start Alex Collins over Isaiah Crowell, like we were talking about.
100%.
Alfred Morris, those guys. I still think he's an RB2 flex play. He still sees targets, so he didn't, like you just touched on. He's not the RB2 solid you drafted him to be, but he's still going to put up points week in and week out.
Yeah, I know when we were doing the draft process, you were talking about how Alex Collins he was balling out, but then when they gave him that full workload, his production kind of dipped down. Maybe they realized that. Maybe they realized once we try to give him the reins and the full workload, he wasn't getting those 10 yards per reception, 8 yards per carry type of plays. So maybe we'll 50-50 put Buck Allen in there, keep him fresh because I know you really looked deep into that in the offseason. So so let's go jump into the receivers. Crabtree.
I think you start Crabtree in this game. He's a wide receiver too.
Yeah, I think you dial up both the receivers, Crabtree and John Brown.
Yeah, John Brown's a wide receiver too, and John Brown's someone who makes big plays too, and the wide receivers are just. I think I'm looking it up right now. The Steelers are 3rd in giving up points to the wide receiver position at 46.8 points per game.
Oh well, yeah.
So both these guys could hypothetically eat in this game. John Brown is the deep target. He's been targeted deep a lot this year, which something you like to see is even if they haven't really connected yet, is he's getting those deep targets. So I think he actually has some top 15 upside built in.
What do you think about Willie Snead? Sleeper, flyer.
Yeah, we saw it in week 1 and week 2. They all had about 4 or 5 receptions. So they throw the ball a ton.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not the deepest targets. So Snead can go out there and get you 5-6 for 65. And maybe he's the one who gets into the end zone because the Steelers in the slot, they struggle in the slot.
For sure. So tight ends on them, Ravens, they're kind of deploying like a 3 tight end by committee. They have Hayden Hurst, who was their 1st round draft pick. He's might play this week. I don't think he plays. Maybe
even if he did, I don't think I'd feel comfortable.
Even if he did, you kind of, especially it's a Sunday night game, so you don't necessarily have any. That's just a name to keep an eye on. Hayden Hurst. If you're kind of struggling at the tight end position, maybe you can grab him. Maybe you stash him, like you said, stash him this week, 1 week ahead. That way he doesn't come out. If he balls out, you have him before anyone else can jump on him. So just a name to keep an eye on. Hayden Hurst. Ravens defense, probably not.
Probably not in this matchup.
They've been torched. They haven't been doing too well. They're not that Ravens defense that we're all used to so far.
Right. At least so far, yeah. Justin Tucker, you're starting him.
Oh, Tucker!
Don't forget about the Tucker.
The Tucker. You know that dude sings opera.
Yeah.
Me too. Okay. Let's go over to our last matchup. We got Kansas City Chiefs against the Denver Broncos in Mile High Stadium.
Chefs? They be cooking points up.
The Chefs.
Fuck. It's a divisional game.
All right, so Monday Night Game, the Chefs.
Jesus, actually, that's the highest.
It's like
dude, that's
it's like
crazy.
58 or something like that. Stupid.
It's like 50. It says 55 right here.
Oh, 55.
That's still crazy either way.
Patrick Mahomes. You're not benching him at this point. He's been straight.
He's
Thor,
been in fuego.
Electricity, fire, whatever you want to call it.
He's been in fuego.
Yeah.
Although I do feel like everyone's kind of used to Mahomes throwing 4, 5, 6 touchdown passes a game. I think this could be a trap game. It's a division game. It's in Denver. It's tough to play in Denver. You're at Mile High. You're at the altitude, and Denver's the team that is the only team who's actually played Mahomes they have like some prior tape on him. You know, they played him week
Right.
17 of last year, so they actually have some game tape of him and like what he does. So I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of came back down to earth. I mean, I don't think he's going to put up a dud, but I wouldn't expect him to throw 4 or 5 touchdowns and then watch him throw for 7 and shut me up. But
Dude, that's a solid
I would
take.
just maybe just that's just my analysis on
Dude,
that.
you know
right
what's
there.
you know what's good about that take right there that you just made? Wasn't liquid, wasn't gas. It was fucking solid.
Dude,
It's a
dude,
solid
thanks,
ass
bro.
take, dude.
Thanks, bro. All right, well, you're starting him up. Kareem Hunt, I mean, you got him. You're dialing him up. Kareem Hunt has made me super nervous this year, though. Like, I had him in a league.
Just his snap percentage.
Tyler gets nervous a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just, maybe it's just different quarterbacks. I mean, obviously, Mahomes, he's gunslinging. He's throwing the ball deep. And Alex Smith, he was throwing deep a lot last year, too. But he was still dinking, dunking a ton to Kareem Hunt. And Kareem Hunt has only had 3 targets all year. He has 1 reception. Spencer Ware has more targets and receptions. Damian Williams has more receptions and targets than him.
It's kind of like it's not funny or ironic, but it's like most people were worried about Tyreek Hill's.
I was worried
chemistry
about Travis
and Travis
Kelce.
Kelce, coming with Mahomes, but no one was really worried about Hunt's getting his targets, and it seemed to be the opposite. Is Kelce and Hill are fine, but Hunt's the one who has the downtick in targets and chemistry of Mahomes.
Yeah. I mean, his yards per carry haven't been anything great either. I think 2 of the 3 games he's been under 4 yards per carry. I mean, last week he saved you because he got those 2 1-yard touchdowns. I mean, I guess week 1 he could have got you another 1-yard touchdown if they didn't do a little pitch pass to Tyreek Hill around the corner. He just makes me nervous, like I said. I traded him this week for Julio Jones. My thought process was just like, there's just so many mouths to feed over there in Kansas City. Julio Jones, they're terrible defense over there. Julio Jones just see a ton of targets and a ton of passing volume over there.
Yeah, kind of speaking with the narrative, what you said, like he hasn't been high efficiency yet. And Denver's played him before, and this is a big game for someone who's still essentially a rookie. I mean, he's played San Francisco. That defense is crap. Pittsburgh, sorry, Mike, that defense is crap. The Chargers, their defense isn't very good without Joey Bosa.
Joey
and Verrett. They're just not the
Bosa,
same.
Fournette, it was out too.
And even then, if you want to look at that game into detail, he was only 15 for 27 for 256 yards. That's a 55% completion rate, but he did have the 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So, the league might start to be adjusting to a little bit if you look at those numbers. And this is going to be the first actual good defense he plays, in Mile High on a Monday night game. So like you said, there is the narrative to where, he might not have this massive blow-off game. I think Denver held him to 200 yards roughly in his first game when they played last year. So, this is a narrative to where this could be more of a, under game than people think.
For sure, yeah.
It's almost like beat us with Kareem Hunt because we're not going to let you beat us with Mahomes.
Yeah, but even then, Denver only giving up 3.3 yards per carry. So, that, like I said, that makes me nervous. I'm nervous.
I kind of like Denver's upset money line this week.
I do like Denver. I think this is a trap game. We talk about all the time how Monday night games, you always think that, for sure, this team's going to win, for sure. And then the underdog ends up winning money line.
Yeah, I've lost so many bets, and hedging with the underdog literally saves me to win something. Where I'm like,
Yeah.
how the hell do you lose to the freaking goddamn?
What happened to you last year? I remember, I think it was the Broncos. They were at home against, I don't even know, a terrible team.
First week I ever bet ever. I put it in. I was week 1 in 2016. I put in a fucking 6-teamer, dude, and I didn't know what hedging. I didn't know about that, and it was the Niners against the Rams, and the fucking and then I took the Rams. This is right when Sean McVay came, and it was week 1, and the fucking Rams lost to the Niners. This is before Jimmy G.
When the Niners were just trash.
Yeah, dude, and they fucking and the Niners won somehow.
Yeah.
Bro, it just happened.
Just proves the NFL's rigged.
It was like a 6-teamer. It was for $900 or some shit.
All right, so let's keep going on. So the Chiefs receivers, Tyreek Hill. I mean, you got to start him every week. I think Sammy Watkins is pretty much a start every week, at least flex consideration every week now. With how high powered that offense is.
Yeah.
Kelce, you're just every week you're dialing him up. Let's jump over to the Denver side. Case Keenum. I think Keenum's a guy you can stream this week if you're looking for a quarterback. I mean, Chiefs defense hasn't been very good. They're at home, so I know Keenum typically plays better at home.
Yeah, I think this is a good. Keenum's one of those streamer options. Like we said, there's probably I wouldn't start Baker Mayfield because there's probably 14, 15, 16 quarterbacks I feel more comfortable starting with, and Keenum would be one of those guys as well.
Yeah.
Where I feel more comfortable streaming. The Chiefs are giving up. They're second in points given up to the quarterback right now. They're giving up 30.1 points to the quarterback.
Yeah.
The only team higher is the Saints, and then right below them is the Steelers.
So yeah, I think for sure, especially at home. And if the Chiefs can put up some points, then he's gonna have to fire back. So yeah, I like Keenum this week. I think it's good.
And on the flip side, the Broncos are only giving up 17 points per game to quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So they've been kind of holding quarterbacks in check on their own.
Yeah. All right, so the running backs, Phillip Lindsay and Freeman. What are you thinking?
I think at this point you're playing Phillip Lindsay.
Yeah.
I think if you're in a standard league, Royce Freeman's an okay start because he is the goal line back. They get inside the 5, he's getting the ball.
Yeah.
And he showed a nose for the end zone. I think he have 3 touchdowns in the year already.
I'm not 100% sure. I know he has 2 at least.
He has at least 2, and then even in the preseason, I think he scored 2 or 3. So he's the goal line back. So when you're in a standard, those points per reception don't really matter. It's basically just a yardage and touchdowns. So I think he has touchdown upside. If this does figure to be a 55 point over under, there's going to be he's going to get at least 1 or 2 looks inside the 5. So I'd feel okay flexing him in a standard.
Yeah. For me personally, I feel confident starting both these guys. The Chiefs are the 31st ranked against running backs, so they're terrible, and they give up 5.2 yards per carry. So Lindsey is obviously that quick, elusive back, in space, but a couple handoffs here and there. But if Freeman's going to get the ball 15 times at 5 yards per carry, and the goal line carries, I like him too. At least a flex guy.
Lindsey kind of freaks me out just because of him getting ejected last week. I think that I don't know, he could be. They might limit him this week.
Yeah,
just because of something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I just worry.
If you go in and do something like that, I feel like a lot of times
they punish you.
Yeah,
but you also want to win the game too. So
right, you're right.
Yeah,
right.
But I think both these guys. Could finish in the top 30 running backs.
I wish he would just get rid of Devontae Burker, because then it'd make most of these both these players every week you could trust them
for sure. Yeah,
because he's just out there taking 30% of the snaps for no reason. He literally is.
He's just a guy.
He literally. I every time I see that Devontae Booker with the -3 yards every fucking play.
Yeah. So on to the receivers, Emmanuel Sanders, him and Keenum, they're boys for sure. They call each other every night before they go to bed. And
hey, Manny, he's my man crush.
He's like, hey, I'm going to give you 15 targets tomorrow. He's like, all right.
Would you call him your Emmanuel crush?
Man.
Okay, sorry.
So you're starting Emmanuel Sanders, Demaryius Thomas.
You're dialing him up.
Yeah, you're dialing him up.
The Chiefs' defense is not good.
Yeah. This is a game where it might be more of a little bit of a get-right game for him in a sense. He's had some downs, but I could see him, having a pretty good game for this. Is Cortland Sutton someone you consider in a deep match in a deep league, maybe a two flex, just because, or 3 wide receiver league because of the matchup?
Yeah. I mean, they have no tight end now. Jake Butt. He wasn't getting a ton of targets in the first place, but they lost their tight end, Jake Butt. He tore his ACL, so that just kind of opens the door more targets for everyone. Yeah, I mean, they're saying Sutton from a physical standpoint was better than Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. So I think it's just a matter of time until he kind of starts to come around. Yeah, I mean, if you're in a deep league, you got multiple flex spots. I mean, I wouldn't mind taking a shot on him. Yeah,
it's just a game script where this pegs to be, a high scoring game too. Maybe a high. He should have had a touchdown in. I think it was week 2. He had that end zone touchdown. For some reason, they called it his foot didn't land in or something stupid like that.
Yeah,
one of those weird no catch rules. So, and then even the reports of him in preseason were that he was just mossing people in the end zone. Yeah. And he's the one who basically is going to take Demaryius' role. Not if, but when. I wouldn't mind that as an upside play
for sure. All right, so the defense, I like the Broncos' defense long term. Actually, I was looking at some defenses to kind of one thing I'll do for me personally is I'll try to scour the waiver wire and I'll look at certain defenses and I'm already looking week 14, 15, 16, what defenses are these teams playing? You know what I'm saying? And I've seen a lot of people are dropping Broncos defense, especially this week because they're playing the Chiefs. You're dropping them. You're not going to play them against the Chiefs with how good their offense is. But I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head, but I think the teams they played in week 14, 15, 16 were the Browns, the Niners, and the Raiders. And 2 of those out of those 3 games they were at home. I don't know if Anthony, if you want to look that up maybe quick. So, I mean, if you want to stash the defense, maybe sometimes I'm a person where I like to stash 2 defenses. I sometimes like to play the matchups, but Broncos defense. If they're there on the waiver wire, you can maybe stash them because then they have some good matchups throughout the rest of the year. And I think they have underperformed recently, but throughout the year, I think they have some good matchups. And like I said, 14, 15, 16, when you're in their playoffs, they have some solid matchups down the stretch.
Yeah, it's the Raiders, Browns, and Niners. Raiders at home, so it could be – it's a home division game. Browns We'll wait and see what happens with Baker, but Niners should be a solid game. I'm okay with that strategy. The only thing is if you're a person in that strategy, don't hold a second defense when there's a potential playmaker on the waiver wire. That's the only thing where in theory it's a good strategy, but let's just say someone were to go down and you could have picked up a nice wide receiver 2 or RB2 for the rest of the year because it's still early. It's only week 4 and you hold the second defense and you miss that opportunity. That's just something to keep in mind on. But if you have deep benches, for sure, I have no problem with holding 2 defenses. So
For sure.
it's kind of league format based, basically.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so those are the matchups right there. So we're just going to jump into some kind of like some sleepers, some players that we think this week that maybe are under the radars. They haven't been producing crazy amount, but some players that we like. What are you thinking? Who do you like, Mike?
Oh, dude, why
I'm putting you on the spot,
you
Mike,
ask me first, dude?
because I knew you weren't ready.
I was about to call
I'm
you out,
sitting
too.
over here stretching, dude.
All right, I'll go first. Okay, so my sleeper of the week, Sterling Shepard, receiver for the New York Giants. So the reason I like Shepard is they lost Ingram. He's out for this game, maybe a couple weeks. So it's going to open up the field, more targets for him. It's been reported that Marshawn Lattimore is most likely going to be shadowing Odell around the field. The Saints defense is just terrible. Like you said, they're just giving it up. They can't stop anybody. But an interesting stat I came across was that second receiver for the opposing defense or the team or whatever, been targeted 26 times. They have 21 receptions and they have 6 touchdowns on those plays. And those, you're looking at like Ridley last week. He had 3 touchdowns. He's the second receiver on the team. Because Marshawn was kind of on Julio. And then that week 1, Deshaun Jackson, he had 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans was getting shadowed by Marshawn Lattimore. Even that game against the Browns, Landry and Callaway, they had some pretty big games right there.
Bro, you're making me want to go pick up.
Yeah, so Sterling Shepard's the guy right here, especially in a game with a high over-under, and we're thinking it's a shootout. I mean, it's at home. Eli Manning looked good. I mean, Sterling Shepard's good. He definitely has the talent. I think last week he had like 6 or 7 catches and a touchdown. He put up some good points. So Sterling Shepard's my sleeper this week.
Yeah, and like I pointed out too, is 8 of the 9 touchdowns that the Giants have given up have been to the number 2 receiver.
It's even better. Even better.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Sterling Shepard with 40 points.
Mike, you ready yet? Go.
Okay, you want to hear my real sleeper of the week? Are you fucking ready for my sleeper of the week, baby? All right. This is going to be... You're kicker, dude. It's important, all right? People like to sleep on kickers. Well, wake those motherfuckers up. Because you got to play Harrison Butker at Mile High Stadium. Dude, those balls can fly so much higher, so much elevation, baby. All right, I'm going to predict 16 points.
Harrison Butker?
16 points.
Harrison Butker.
Dude, I said 16. 16 points from Harrison Butker.
Hopefully your eardrums are okay.
That's Michael's. Yeah. Sorry.
Hey, I like it. I like it.
That's
right
Michael's
there.
sleeper of the week. Harrison Butker.
Mahomes, he's good enough to move. The offense
It's
is good
either
enough to move the ball down the field, but maybe they get stuffed in the red zone. Butker comes in.
Dude,
it's like 4 field goals.
Fuck it. Oh!
Bro, I'm about to go search my waiver wire in every league right now.
Dude,
He's in a lot of leagues.
drop Gronk, pick up Butker. I'm just telling you guys.
I like that. Was solid.
It was either between my sleepers is either gonna be Harrison Butker or Rob Gronkowski, but I felt like Rob Gronkowski's not too much of a sleeper, so I decided to go with the latter.
All right, Anthony, what about you? Who you liking this week?
All right, so my sleeper is Geronimo Allison. If he's there in your waiver wires, grab him. Randall Cobb's banged up. He's every year he just seems to get banged up and nicked up and never stays healthy. Geronimo Allison's played above 70% snaps in every game. His 3 games so far: 5 for 69 and a touchdown, 6 for 64, no touchdown, 2 for 76 and a touchdown. So he's making plays out there, and he has arguably the greatest quarterback in the league right now. And they're playing the Buffalo Bills this week. And the Buffalo Bills have one solid cornerback, and that's what is it, Tre'Davious White? Tre'Davious White, and he's actually a top 8 cornerback per Pro Football Focus. So it's if you're going to take one receiver away and put your best corner on, it's going to be Devontae Adams. So I think it's going to lead to some Geronimo Allison opportunities. If Randall Cobb's out, his target volume has been 10, 6, and 11. So if he's out this week, I extremely love Geronimo Allison. Yeah. I think he's going to get some of those slot targets. He's been 8, 6, and 4 as far as targets as Geronimo Allison. So this could be a game where he gets 8 to 10 targets, and he has Aaron Rodgers. So it wouldn't surprise me if he scores 2 touchdowns in a game. If you have a receiver for Aaron Rodgers, I mean, James Jones put up what, like 14 touchdowns in a year, or
Yeah,
something
1 year.
stupid like
That's
that.
crazy.
So I mean, there's always massive double-digit touchdown or double touchdown upside with any receiver tied to Aaron Rodgers.
Sure. Bro, you guys are making some solid points over here.
Solid,
So
not liquid,
solid,
not gas,
baby.
Mike.
Bro, I think we could just make a team of our own with these sleepers right here.
Dude, I like to sleep.
All right, well, that was the week 4 Masters right there.
I'll give one more quick sleeper. Sorry, John
Oh,
Brown. I think he has top 15 upside this week.
John
I'm
Brown.
starting him in like every league I have him.
Yeah. No, I like it. Like you said, Steelers defense not very good.
John Brown. I
John
feel like
Brown.
I feel like
Pretty
a lot of people
consistent,
are-
actually,
Yeah, I feel
right?
like a lot of people are already starting John Brown.
But if you're not, do it.
So-
Do it.
Do it. Fucking do it, bro. Just
Do
do it.
Just wake up, put Bucker in your lineup. All right. This was episode 13, lucky 13. Wow. Oh, unlucky 13. Michael, do you even know numbers? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Anyways, thanks for listening. Wow, what a great time you guys had with us. And now your team won. Wow, way to go. Dude, I can't believe how many people. Everybody's just winning. Nobody's even losing fantasy anymore because they're all listening to the Average Bros podcast. Go check us out on YouTube. We got full video format. Check us out on Instagram. We've been posting clips on there, some sleepers, all this other good stuff. Ask us some questions. Do that, you idiot. Anyways, that's it. Thanks, guys.
See you next time. Deuces.
Bye.